My elder sister had high aspirations, and was the first to marry the eldest son of the richest man. As a result, the eldest son was disliked by the family, and she lost both her love and her future. It was me who married the second son. That was doted on and enjoyed great glory. My elder sister was desperate and drove the car with me off a cliff. When I was reborn again, she pretended to be magnanimous and said to my father, "The eldest brother is more suitable for my little sister. I'll choose the second brother." I quickly clung to the eldest son. This time, the good days finally came to me. My grandfather had shown kindness to the old master of the Victor family, and the two families arranged a baby betrothal. My elder sister, Vanessa, and I, Serena, never worried about getting married since we were young. Sitting in a luxurious private room of a hotel, across from us was Grandpa Theodore, the richest man in the capital circle. My father wore a flattering smile on his face and said, "Father Theodore, the children have all grown up, and it's time to talk about their marriages. Vanessa has been sensible since she was a child. She graduated from a prestigious university, and she's smart and beautiful. She's a perfect match for your eldest son." Before he could finish speaking, my elder sister was so anxious that she pulled his sleeve under the table. "Father, the eldest brother is steady and knows how to take care of people better. He's suitable for my little sister. And the person I like is the second brother of the Victor family." My father was taken aback for a moment. He had always favored my elder sister since we were young, and he knew that she had high ambitions and always let her overpower me in everything. He clearly knew that marrying the eldest son, Theodore, would make her the young mistress of the Victor family in the future. But she took a fancy to the idle second son. "Jasper, this is a major decision for your life. You girl." "Father, I've really thought it through. I won't marry anyone else but the second brother of the Victor family." After saying that, without waiting for Grandpa Theodore to nod, she reached out and snatched Jasper's engagement letter. She also cast a proud glance at me and whispered softly, "In this life, it's your turn to stay alone in an empty room. I'm afraid I'm the only one at the table who knows why my elder sister is acting so strangely." In her previous life, she dreamed of rising to the top in one step and was the first to throw herself into the bed of the eldest brother, Theodore. But half a month after the marriage, she found that Theodore was a dull and boring workaholic. Although she was bright and charming, she didn't receive any favor from her husband at all. On the first night of their wedding, she stayed alone in an empty room because Theodore went on a business trip. Theodore was stubborn and inflexible. He didn't know how to please the elders at all. When others fawned over the old master at family gatherings, he would find excuses to be too busy and try to avoid them. After Vanessa married the eldest brother of the Victor family, she was restricted everywhere. She had to learn all kinds of business etiquette every day, and there were always endless family affairs to deal with. She couldn't rest at night either. When Theodore worked all night, he would ask her to make tea and memorize materials beside him, and they would study hard until late at night. This made Vanessa, who was used to being ostentatious and enjoying life, suffer a lot. While she was taking care of the Victor family with a simple makeup, Jasper took me on a yacht vacation. When she was overwhelmed by the complicated interpersonal relationships, Jasper took me to a party and we danced wildly. All my sisters were envious of me and said that I married for love. Even when Vanessa was sick, she still had to manage everything up and down. Fortunately, Vanessa was at least the eldest daughter minus law of the Victor family, and she could always find excuses to go back to the Victor family's old house to fawn over the elders. Therefore, she made up her mind to win again for Theodore and regain the favor of the old couple of the Victor family. Theodore, however, was completely unmoved and said inferiorly, "It seems that you still haven't learned anything. Don't worry about the family affairs for now. Figure out why and then come to see me." Vanessa was left at home under house arrest, and Theodore didn't come home for a month. I, on the other hand, became famous in the top circle. At the family banquets of the top business tycoons, my smiling face could be seen. Jasper was one of the most well-known playboys in the capital circle. He was suave and charming, and he fascinated countless women. But I was the only female companion by his side. We shuttled around. And our every move was full of sweetness. And I was the center of attention. Everyone said that the right of inheritance of the Victor family was likely to fall into the hands of the second son of the Victor family. When Vanessa finally managed to go out and get some fresh air after much coaxing, Grandpa Theodore had already assigned the project that was vital to the group's lifeblood to Jasper. Grandma Theodore smiled kindly and said, "Your father is also afraid that the eldest son is too tired and wants Yi to share some of the burden for him." Vanessa went crazy. Under the pretext of picking me up to go home and visit our mother together, she drove the car with me and crashed through the guardrail. We fell off the cliff together. Both died. And were reborn together. In this life, Vanessa took the lead and chose the second brother, Jasper. She also said to me, "In the Victor family, the status of the eldest daughter minus law is just a decoration. You go and suffer with that inflexible iceberg." 3. It's really not easy to be at ease with Theodore. It's common knowledge in the entire upper circle that Grandpa Theodore favors the second son, Jasper. It's just that our family was too ordinary in the previous life. And we didn't have the right to know this. Vanessa's wedding day was on the same day as mine. So there was no part of my parents toasting at my wedding with Theodore. My parents and the old couple of the Victor family said that they were too old to run back and forth and asked me not to care about these minor details. The few shareholders who came just perfunctorily dealt with it, and left with an excuse after stuffing the gift money. Theodore sat on the sofa. His eyes slightly closed. And his voice was indifferent. "Are you very disappointed? In the previous life, with my elder sister's arrogant and domineering character, she definitely couldn't hide her disappointment. Who would have thought that the eldest young master of a prominent wealthy family, the general manager of the M Group, would receive less attention at his wedding than his idle younger brother? You know, Jasper's wedding was extremely luxurious. And many people who wanted to curry favor with the Victor family squeezed in to get gifts. I, however, calmly wiped off my eyeshadow. People say that on the wedding day, a woman is the most beautiful and the most tired. But today, I'm only beautiful and haven't exerted any effort at all. How great is that? At this moment, the soft and warm light shone in my smiling eyes, glistening and dazzling. Theodore slightly raised his eyebrows. And there was a bit more scrutiny in his eyes. He didn't expect me to react like this. "You seem to be quite open-minded," he said with a calm expression. "However, since you are my Theodore's wife, you can't just focus on taking care of your husband and children. I'm very busy with work. And you need to handle many family affairs on your own." I turned to look at him. And a smile spread across my face. "As long as you're willing to entrust them to me, I won't hold you back in any way." For the assistant prepared a fixed stack of materials, which were filled with the internal information of the Victor family and the list of people with whom the group had interests. Before Theodore went on a business trip, he didn't forget to remind me memorize all these within 3 days. "There's an auction party. And you'll go with me." Coming from a humble family, I really got to see the intrigues in the wealthy family. I not only had to be familiar with the faces and names of these people, memorize their overt and covert wisdoms, but also figure out how to talk appropriately when I met them at the party. Speaking different languages according to different people. It's really not easy to be a good wife. I spent the first night of my wedding with these materials. Through these materials, I found that although Theodore was a bit cold, he had indeed made great contributions to the Victor family. But Grandpa Theodore really didn't like him either. Old people always dote more on the children who know how to act copathiously. A week later, at the family gathering, I finally saw Grandpa Theodore for the second time. Theodore went back to the old house once a month, but it seemed that Grandpa Theodore didn't care whether he came back or not. Grandma Theodore was very polite and kept asking me all kinds of questions. And the atmosphere was quite harmonious. But this state didn't last long. The sound of a sports car's engine came from outside the yard, and it made me feel inexplicably annoyed. Grandpa Theodore cursed. But there was no anger on his face. "This brat is becoming more and more unruly. Don't you know him? Who does he get this impulsive nature from?" Grandma Theodore said with a smile. The old master snorted but didn't refute. After a while, Jasper came in with a swaggering air. He was dressed in all high minus and custom minus made clothes, which cost at least 5 figures. And he was also holding Vanessa, who was also wearing all famous brand. Father, I just bought a new car. Today, I'll take you and my mother to a nice place. Grandpa Theodore sat there calmly and glanced at him. NPH. Did you book the Huasheng building? Jasper raised his eyebrows and pretended to be surprised. Father, you're really amazing. You know more than I do even when you're sitting at home. The Huasheng building has reopened. The chef is a top minus level master hired from Guangdong. I know you like that fresh taste. So, I'm inviting you to have a taste on the first day. Vanessa immediately stepped forward obediently and took the old lady's arm. Yes. Mother. She spent a lot of effort to make the reservation. You two must show your face today. She and Jasper stood on either side of the old couple, coaxing them so much that they couldn't stop smiling. In a short while, the old couple was pulled away. In the living room of the old house, there was only silence left. Even the butler beside us felt embarrassed for the two of us. The eldest young master came back only once a month, and the old master was pulled away by the second young master before he could say a few words. Eldest young master. Then, will you still have dinner here? The chef of the Victor family's old house had once cooked for a state banquet. He was rehired at a high price back then, just for his exquisite Hui Yang cuisine. Everyone said that the best Hui Yang cuisine in the capital city could only be tasted in the Victor family's old house. Theodore had no expression on his face. He slightly stood up and was about to speak when I gently pressed his hand. Yes. Serve the dishes as originally ordered. Even if father and the others don't eat. We will. The old house is our parents' home. And it's also our home. It's normal to have a meal in our own home. I heard there's braised shredded dried tofu today? I've been wanting to taste the old master's craftsmanship for a long time. As I said that, I winked playfully at the butler. The butler was distracted by me, and immediately felt that the atmosphere was much more relaxed. He hurried to tell people to prepare the meal. Theodore looked at me, and a rare smile appeared in his eyes. Just a few days. And you're already looking like a housekeeper. I proudly gave him a smile even brighter than the sun. After that, Theodore took me to the old house even less often. I heard his assistant gossip angrily that Grandpa Theodore did the holiday manor in the eastern suburbs to the second son. A pair of jade bracelets that were originally going to be passed on to the eldest daughter minus and minus law are now on Vanessa's wrist. But even the biggest mountain may collapse one day. I'm not in a hurry because I've seen the Theodore hidden beneath the surface. In the huge age group, more than a dozen old minus timers on the core board of directors automatically sat at the lower seats during meetings, and were extremely afraid of this tough young man. Not daring to be perfunctory at all. The business backbones of each department, after experiencing several tough battles with him at the negotiation table, were convinced and became loyal to him. Since I've been reborn, I want to be the woman by this kind of man's side. So Vanessa continued to be held in Jasper's hand like a canary and was shown off everywhere, flaunting her appearance and eloquence. I followed Theodore and gradually infiltrated into the family's internal affairs, managed the relationships with the female relatives in the business world, and I also took the initiative to ask for more responsibilities. Otherwise, let me have a try in the media field? Theodore looked at me in surprise. The gold minus rimmed glasses matched his cold white skin, giving him an air of a gentle scoundrel. The money in the entertainment industry was really not attractive in the eyes of the real estate and financial tycoons of the age group. But if Theodore wants to have more initiative in the future, he must develop his own exclusive channels. Entering the media and film industry is just his first step. I know that he wants to tie up the investments of the female relatives in the business world through this industry. Behind the decisions made by men, the influence of the wife's whispers in bed should not be underestimated. Come and teach me, Teacher Theodore? I simply sat on Theodore's lap boldly and, like a student eager for knowledge, tugged at his front lapel and acted coquettously. I don't know if this has touched his bottom line of interests. After all, I'm half an outsider. And what I'm asking for is his future foundation. Theodore's body stiffened, and his expression was unreadable. He didn't speak for a long time. But he also didn't push me away, which was a rare occurrence. Just when my limited courage and confidence were about to run out. His voice was a bit hoarse. Get up early tomorrow and come to the company with me. 5 since then. I've become his little follower. I've been diligent and hardworking. Never complaining about the hard work. And so busy that I can hardly keep my feet on the ground. Most of the time. I'm either working with my head down at the same time as Theodore or going on business trips to different cities. So we rarely get to see each other. Once. At the birthday party of a group director. I wore a white mermaid dress and attended with him on my arm. In the midst of the clinking of glasses. When the wealthy merchants and nobles greeted Theodore. They no longer addressed me as Mrs. Theodore but as General Manager Serena. I knew then that all my hard work hadn't been in vain. Suddenly. Someone called my name from behind. When I turned around. I found that 2 pairs of gorgeously dressed men and women had somehow stood behind me. It was the wife whom had just made her first pot of gold from a joint variety show. Her husband happened to be a partner of the H Group's Q1 plot. And beside her stood my elder sister. Vanessa. I have to say that Vanessa was indeed the most dazzling beauty at the party. Wearing a red dress. She was graceful and charming. As beautiful as a blooming peony. Charming yet elegant. Jasper gently put his arm around her slender waist. When their eyes occasionally met, there was an endless flow of love and sweetness. This was the freedom she had never experienced in her previous life. However, just as she raised her glass triumphantly, that wife saw me. Who could lead her to make money? The middle-aged man holding a glass took the lead and exclaiming recently. I always hear my wife talk about a general manager Serena. She's beautiful and tough. And she took my wife to do business and made a lot of money. I didn't expect her to be Theodore's wife. The daughter-in-law of the Victor family is indeed a business expert. The other wives who gathered around also chimed in. Vanessa looked at me. If looks could kill. I'm afraid I would have been tortured to death by her long ago. Just as I got back from the party that day, Grandma Theodore called and scolded me severely. What are you? A woman, having so filled my obsession. Doing meddling in the Victor family's business? A girl from a humble family is just short-sighted. The Serena family is really reaching out too far. I was looking through the new talent materials that the assistant had just brought. The Otomi games were really popular. And we were going to promote a few fresh-faced young actors in the next drama. I distracted myself and replied. Mom. Calm down. Don't get so angry that you hurt your body. The old lady probably didn't expect me to be so calm. Do you still remember that I'm your mother? Now. Come to me immediately. Apologize to your father in person. After saying that, she hung up the phone without giving me a chance to refuse. She probably thought that I, who had married into the Victor family, was just a tool for giving birth. Someone who could be some at will and had no other value. When the butler opened the door and welcomed me in, Vanessa was holding Grandma Theodore's hand and crying pitifully, while Jasper was sitting next to Grandpa Theodore and whispering something. When she saw me coming, she cried even more pitifully. Sister, I know you envy how Mom and Dad treat me and ye well. But since we've married into the Victor family, we should be honest and proper wives of the Victor family and not act against the family's interests. You've been so close to the wives of the Victor family's business partners. People who don't know might think that the Serena family sent you here to steal business. Mom and Dad. This is her personal behavior and has nothing to do with our Serena family. Please don't misunderstand. The old master sat high in the main seat with a livid face. Looking at my sister's face that seemed to be upholding justice even against her own kin. I suddenly found it a bit funny. And I really couldn't hold back my laughter. The old lady was even angrier. You still have the nerve to laugh. We shouldn't have married you into our family in the first place. You brainless fool. I raised my eyes and looked coldly at this woman who always claimed to be fair. Grandpa Theodore repaid the kindness first. And I, not knowing my place, was coveting the Victor family's business later. Even if Theodore divorced me, it would be the Serena family that would be embarrassed. And whether I became infamous or not was in their consideration at all. Vanessa was crying so hard that she could barely catch her breath. Big brother is often on business trips and has no time to take care of you. But you can't take the opportunity to make trouble either. In front of outsiders. Theodore did treat me properly. And everyone didn't think he had any feelings for me. Vanessa's face was pale. And Jasper was fanning the flames beside her. Grandpa Theodore, who had been as cold as water all this time, finally said coldly, "Call the lawyer now. Divorce her in front of me." In the wealthy family's arena of fame and fortune, the group's business was always Grandpa Theodore's bottom line. With the means of the Victor family's lawyer, it would be easy to make me lead the family with nothing. And if I was kicked out of the Victor family for this reason, the Serena family wouldn't want me either. Overnight, I might become the biggest laughingstock in the capital circle. Just as the situation seemed to be getting out of control, Theodore's cold voice suddenly came from outside the door. "Six, the play has gone far enough, hasn't it?" Theodore exuded an air of detachment, with a steady aura. He looked directly at Grandpa Theodore coldly. "She's my wife. Whether we divorce or not is up to me." Although he usually disdained to curry favor with the elders, it hadn't come to a complete break yet. I didn't expect him to show up at this moment. Grandpa Theodore felt a bit embarrassed. Jasper immediately took advantage of the situation. "You're contradicting Dad for an outsider? Could it be that you ordered her to undermine the Victor family? Dad isn't dead yet. Are you in such a hurry to divide the money? Relying on the old master's favor." He had never taken his eldest brother seriously. In his opinion, Theodore was just a tool to help him build his career. However, Theodore, who was usually silent and biding his time, suddenly turned his head and looked at Jasper. At that moment, an overwhelming sense of hostility emanated from him. "Is it your turn to speak? What?" Jasper was stunned. Theodore enunciated each word clearly. "Useless thing. Take your wife and get out." "Damn it, Dad." Jasper was feeling guilty and throwing a tantrum. He turned around to complain. But before he could finish, several middle-aged men in suits walked in from outside the door. They didn't greet Grandpa Theodore either. They just smiled and nodded at Theodore, then quietly stepped back behind him. I had seen these people before. When did he call in the heads of the group's finance, legal, and business departments? "What are you here for, Theodore? What do you mean by this? Are you rebelling?" Grandpa Theodore was so angry that his hands were shaking. He never expected that for the sake of me, an outsider. Theodore seemed ready to have a complete falling minus out with him. And the core backbones of the group who held the key secrets actually showed more respect for Theodore than for him. Before Theodore could answer himself, the finance director behind him handed a stack of documents to Grandpa Theodore. "Chairman, this is the letter of appointment for General Manager Serena as the director of the group's cultural investment. There are the autographs of 18 board members on it. Please take a look." After seeing the handwriting on the paper clearly, Grandpa Theodore's hands were shaking. "Are those people all out of their minds? Why should she, an outsider, be given such an important position?" The finance director still had a humble and unyielding attitude. "General Manager Serena's monthly performance exceeded 500 million. The directors have all seen it." "You mean her?" Grandpa Theodore stared at the finance director in disbelief, his hand trembling as he pointed at me. The director smiled and bowed his head, then silently stepped back behind Theodore again. The old master frowned and didn't speak anymore. Vanessa panicked and took out a piece of paper from her bag and stuffed it in front of Theodore. "Big brother, don't be deceived by her. This is a letter someone wrote to her, saying that as long as she helps to get the Victor family's project in the west of the city, they will give her 10 million as a thank you." I didn't expect she would even resort to forging letters. I sneered and waited to see what attitude Theodore would have towards me. "Give it to me and let me see." Theodore took the letter paper, looked down at the content, and suddenly exerted force with his wrist. With a crisp snap, the letter paper broke into several pieces and was thrown hard on the ground. "What trash? Serena, come here." He called me familiarly and took out a black card from his suit's inner pocket. "This card has no limit. Whatever amount you need is yours." Seeing me hesitating to take it, he directly grabbed my hand with his big hand, put the card in my palm, then turned to look at Vanessa and sneered. "Would my Theodore's wife care about 10 million? She didn't expect Theodore to defend me like this. She wanted to argue, but Theodore directly ignored her. He waved his hand to let the directors leave first, and a faint hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. Dad, you may not be clear since you don't often go to the company. The project in the west of the city has long become a rot and deal that no one wants. And all of this is thanks to my second brother. Why don't you ask him yourself how much private money he took from the developer? Grandpa Theodore looked at Jasper in surprise. The focus of the group in the next quarter was the west of the city. It's not me. I didn't do it. Theodore is spitting blood. Jasper panicked, seeing his eldest brother's determined expression. He then started looking for a scapegoat. I know. It's her. His face was distorted as he pointed at Vanessa's nose. This woman is greedy for money and caused trouble behind my back. Dad. You have to believe me. I had long expected him to say this. I knew him too well from my previous life. But Vanessa was still in a dream. She took 2 steps back in shock and was too stunned to speak. How could the old master not understand the situation by now? He rubbed his forehead and waved his hand vaguely, trying to gloss over the matter as he always did. Just because Serena was wronged. You wanted me to divorce her. Now that the evidence is conclusive, you're just going to let it go? There was a trace of anger in Theodore's eyes. Looking at him like this, I suddenly felt a bit heartbroken. I reached out and held his hand, squeezing it tightly, wanting to tell him that at least I would always be there for him. Your brother is still young and indeed a bit naive. I'll talk to him later. That's it for today. Untired, Grandpa Theodore still couldn't bear to punish his youngest son, and was impatiently preparing to get up and go back to his room. Theodore obediently left. But when he reached the door, he suddenly said slowly, since you don't have the energy to deal with this matter, I'll let the directors discuss it tomorrow. If it was made public at the group level, Grandpa Theodore would be powerless to protect Jasper anymore. Ignoring Jasper's pleading eyes, he gritted his teeth and scolded, you ungrateful wretch. Spit out all the kickbacks you took. 7. It was a rare leisurely night. I washed up early and slipped into the bed. I glanced at Theodore, who was leaning beside me and flipping through the financial reports. Thank you for believing in me today, I said softly, and couldn't help but look at him sideways. He was actually very good minus looking. Without Jasper's rascally and bad minus boy look, his eyes and eyebrows were full of tenderness and brightness. But because of his high position, he had an air of aloofness that made people respect him even without showing anger. I really liked this kind of man. He rarely smiled at me and seldom made overly affectionate gestures. But he would ask people to buy me soft slippers and pajamas, and pour an extra glass of warm milk for me before bed. Although he rarely stayed at home with me, whenever I sent him a message, I would always receive a reply immediately. His replies were concise, but every word was sincere. His voice was indifferent, and it was hard to tell his emotions. I don't know why, but the more serious he looked, the more I wanted to tease him. On a whim, I leaned over and kissed him on the right cheek. His body froze, and there was a certain kind of restraint in his eyes when he looked at me. I thought I was really being a bit bold. I simply decided to go all the way. I raised my arm and hooked it around his neck. The crook of my arm was filled with the man's scorching temperature. It made my face turn red. My heart was pounding. And I was completely stiff, with a blank mind, not knowing what to do next. There were emotions churning in his eyes, as if he could no longer hold back. You took the initiative first. His breathing was heavy, and his scorching breath sprayed against my ear. It had turned out that this dog of a man wasn't really unromantic at all. He just didn't have the nerve to take the initiative first because of his status as a big president. But after that night, it was as if he had unlocked some special ability. I woke up every morning with a sore back. Even when I went out to negotiate a cooperation, I would receive a text message from him, we haven't seen each other for 2 hours. I helplessly turned off my phone and continued to persuade the fresh-gen actor newly scouted by the agent, explaining the pros and cons to him, insisting that he sign with our company, as his future would be bright. My phone vibrated violently, and there was another text message. Why don't you just stick your eyes on his face? I felt a bit embarrassed and apologized to the handsome young man, preparing to explain to him briefly. Unexpectedly, heading for Phil Y&Si, my phone vibrated again. And it was still a text message from Theodore, "I'll negotiate for you." Then I saw the dog of a man's tall and straight figure. Dressed in a clean white shirt and black pants. With bright eyes and a handsome face. He walked towards the young actor with a mischievous smile. A man who is straightforward, capable, handsome, and wealthy is really addictive. 9 After that face minus off. Grandpa Theodore suddenly became much more aware. The next time I saw Vanessa, she looked much more haggard. But when she looked at me, she still smiled haughtily. No matter how capable you are. In the end, won't the old master still give the best project to she? That's right. That's exactly what happened in my previous life. She wanted to see the expression on my face as if I was about to cry out of grievance. But I was as indifferent as if I was listening to someone else's gossip and said lightly, "Sister, have you ever thought that all your flamboyant dressing can't really get you on the stage of a wealthy family? Jasper can make you put aside your pride and flatter the old master now. But in the future, he might make you flatter even more people." Vanessa's face changed. But in just an instant, she forced a smile again. "If you're jealous, just say it. Just wait. Your hard days have just begun." After saying that, she didn't stay for a moment and turned around and left. But in fact, what I said was true. In her previous life, she only knew the result and didn't see the process. 10 The economic crisis arrived as expected. And Theodore's position in the group became even more important. And he was even busier with work. I not only had to help him stabilize the female relatives in the business world but also take care of the family's internal affairs. I often worked so hard that I didn't even have time to eat. And Vanessa finally got what she wanted and became the most glamorous wife in the capital circle, being invited to the family banquets of the top business tycoons. But this was actually a trap. With her charming smile, she caught the eye of a business tycoon. When they were toasting, he blatantly touched her little hand. At that time, Jasper was right beside her. But he pretended not to see it. In the face of her angry gaze, he just smiled and said that the man was just teasing her and not to be too sensitive. But on the night after the banquet, Vanessa felt weak all over. Dizzy. And hot. When she woke up the next day, the old man from the previous night was lying beside her. She screamed and tightly covered the quilt, kicking the old man out of the bed. The other party grimaced and said viciously, "You little bitch. What are you pretending to be so high and mighty for? If it wasn't for your husband begging me to sleep with you, I would have disliked you as a second-hand woman." She completely broke down and cried. She ran home like crazy to confront Jasper. That man didn't even bother to hide it. He directly admitted it and even taught her to know how to share the pressure for her husband. Vanessa was so ashamed and angry that she thought I had harmed her. With red eyes, she blocked me at the door of my house and asked me why I didn't tell her these things earlier. Looking at her disheveled hair and panicked eyes, I felt an inexplicable pity and patiently explained to her, "Didn't you ever wonder in your previous life why Grandpa Theodore finally gave the best project to Jasper even though he had neither the ability nor the experience? Was it really just because he could say sweet words? It's because he bribed the investors of the H group with beauty and benefits, making them speak well of him in front of the old master, so that the old master mistakenly thought he could handle the project well. Sister, I'll tell you something else you didn't know in your previous life. In fact, I truly felt that she didn't deserve it in a while. When Jasper gets the project and thinks everything is fine, when he needs you the least, quickly divorce him." As if to confirm whether I was jealous or not, Vanessa stared fixedly into my eyes. Then, like a gambler, she suddenly laughed hysterically and pointed at my nose and cursed, "Don't even think about it. Jasper was able to get all these because of my sacrifices. Why shouldn't I keep them? Why should I leave?" Her voice was so shrill that it often broke. I frowned as I listened. Since that was the case, it was always her own choice of path. I didn't say anything more and turned around and got into my assistant's car. Even after driving a long way, I could still see Vanessa standing dejectedly in front of my house through the rearview mirror. 11 If I remember correctly. In a week's time, Theodore will receive the news that the core project has been assigned to Jasper. The big tree that he had painstakingly planted was finally about to bear fruit, but it was snatched away by someone else without any warning. in his previous life. He was so devastated that it took him several months to recover. But this life is different. Only I can bully my man. 12 No. I don't agree. Theodore's eyes were as cold as a knife. And his eyebrows were slightly furrowed. The group's businesses in finance and commercial real estate were severely affected by the economic crisis. He led the core team to work hard day and night before securing the infrastructure project. Whether the group can rise against the trend depends crucially on this project. If Jasper messes it up, it will be difficult to explain to the key members of the team. Grandpa Theodore had a solemn face and was obviously dissatisfied with his attitude. Several investors have told me that he has grown a lot recently. The most difficult part of the preliminary stage of this project has been completed. And it's okay to hand over the finishing work to him. Yes. Grandma Theodore said earnestly. Your father also thinks that you've been too tired recently. You should trust your younger brother. I looked coldly at Jasper, who was silent but had a proud expression, and secretly gave Theodore a meaningful look. Then, let out a low sigh. I magnanimous agreed on his behalf. Mom is right. Even if our little brother is not mature enough, this is a good opportunity for him to gain experience. And even if there are any difficulties, Dad is here to oversee things. The two elders clearly didn't expect me to speak for them, and their expressions towards me became a bit kinder. I have to say that after such a long time, Theodore and I really have a bit of tacit understanding. He knew that I wouldn't say these words for no reason. Although he didn't express his stance, his attitude visibly softened a lot. However, at this moment, something unexpected happened. Vanessa's faint voice sounded. Yes. After all, we are all family. Serena, I know you're in charge of the film and television investment. Recently, the new film of the current popular best actor is going to cooperate with us. But he has a condition. She observed my expression, paused for a moment, and then continued. He specifically asked me to be in charge of the cooperation matters for the new film. Goodness. Not only did Vanessa not take my advice to heart, but she was also planning to go a step further and snatch away the group business that I was in charge of? I was so angry that I almost laughed. Who would have thought that Grandma Theodore, who didn't understand the business at all, would also chime in and ask, is it Jang Nan, the current popular best actor? I heard that all the movies he starred in were box office hits. If we can sign him, wouldn't he be our golden goose? Yes, and a sigh. Mom. I just don't know if Serena is willing. Vanessa was no longer just testing. This was a blatant threat. Theodore clearly understood the key points in this situation. But he couldn't stand seeing me being bullied. His tone was menacing. And his gaze was as sharp as a knife. He stared at Vanessa and mocked her word by word. Do you even deserve it? Seeing her fake, tearful look like a green tea girl, I really didn't want to play this game anymore. Fine. Fine. I'll give you the entire film and television investment business. I'll be glad to have some leisure time. She asked me in disbelief if I was serious. But as soon as I finished speaking, I waved my hand, pulled Theodore, said goodbye to the old couple, and rushed out of this hypocritical old mansion. Sitting in the car, I let out a long sigh, expelling all the pent-up frustration in my chest. Theodore lovingly pulled me into his arms and felt self-reproachful. I'm sorry. I didn't expect them to come up with this move. Making you feel wrong too. I greedily inhaled the warm scent of his embrace. It's okay. The film and television business is your hard work. Aren't you heartbroken? He rubbed his cheek against my head. I raised my eyebrows slightly and smiled playfully. In 3 days, I'll show you a good show. After saying that, I gave him a kiss on his chin, accompanied by a low chuckle. A warm touch came from my lips, carrying his unique, refreshing scent. 13 In the blink of an eye, it was time for me to fulfill my promise to Theodore. Early on, I dragged into the conference room and asked my assistant to invite all the 18 core directors. Although Theodore didn't know what I was up to, when the directors were expressing their dissatisfaction, he sternly helped me to suppress them. Dear directors. I cleared my throat and looked at the time. Please be patient for a while. In 5 minutes, we will have an important phone call that I'd like all of you to listen to. although everyone's eyes were filled with doubt. After all, they knew my abilities. Moreover, with my status as the eldest daughter minus and minus law of the Victor family, they were willing to give me 5 minutes of face. As time passed minute by minute, I remained calm and composed. And Theodore was even more as steady as a mountain. The feeling of being fully trusted was really wonderful. Just when everyone was about to lose their patience, Theodore's phone suddenly rang. This was something I specifically told him to turn on when we went out in the morning. General Manager Theodore. The assistant held the phone and hesitated. It's the old master. Theodore pondered for a moment, raised his eyebrows, and glanced at me. Then he decisively said, "Answer it and put it on speakerphone." As he spoke, he even personally turned the volume to the maximum. After the call was connected, Grandpa Theodore's anxious voice came through. "Theodore, come back immediately. The workers of the infrastructure project suddenly went on strike. People from above came with documents saying that they want to terminate the cooperation." "What? Are you talking about the core project that the group has been planning for half a year? I heard that it was assigned to Jasper to be in charge? This is absurd." The director who was speaking suddenly fell silent, looked up at the phone that hadn't been turned off yet, and slapped the table in frustration. Theodore replied with the okay. And then, ignoring Grandpa Theodore's inquiries, he directly hung up the phone. He didn't say anything and just looked at me with great interest. I couldn't help but give him a proud smile. And I adjusted my expression and pretended to be indignant as I faced the directors. "Everyone, we can only obey the old master's decision. But don't worry. Theodore has already made arrangements. The workers of the infrastructure project went on strike mainly because they were worried about not getting paid. We have already obtained the cash flow through the layout of risk hedging investment products. And we can allocate a portion of the funds immediately for emergency use. Also, we have already sent people to deal with the higher minus-ups. And I believe we can stabilize the situation soon. Taking this opportunity, I also want to announce something to everyone. I pretended to be sad due to the economic crisis. The market demand has declined, and consumers' entertainment needs have been reduced. So, after comprehensive consideration, I propose to suspend the business of the film and television investment department to reduce the group's operating costs. Please vote on this proposal. Dear directors, Vanessa wanted my things. But even if I had to destroy them, I wouldn't let her succeed. Moreover, we should adopt different strategies according to different situations. In the past, this business could indeed help Theodore build up his strength. But now that the overall environment has changed, it is a wise choice to make a tough decision." Sure enough, after hearing my words, Theodore's eyes showed approval. In the end, the board of directors unanimously passed my proposal and jointly sent a resolution to Grandpa Theodore, canceling all of Jasper's powers and responsibilities in the group. Otherwise, they would all withdraw their investments collectively. With internal pressure and the external situation, Grandpa Theodore had no choice but to yield. Jasper made a big scene, but the old master just said, "I'm old and can't manage so much anymore," and brushed him off. Theodore completely took control of the group's power. Soon, head and fulfilled my desire. He succeeded the old master and officially took the position of chairman. My status as the young mistress of the wealthy family was firmly established. As for Vanessa's ending, I don't want to inquire about it anymore. According to my experience in the previous life, Jasper ended up in complete failure and drank alcohol every day. When he got drunk and went home, he would beat people. And after beating enough, he would vent his desires on the bed. That period of time was simply my nightmare. And in this life, a nightmare belonged to Vanessa. 14 on the first anniversary of our marriage, Theodore said he would make up for me with a grand wedding. Unlike the previous cold and deserted one, my parents and the old couple of the Victor family all sat properly in the front row. And all the well-known people in the capital circle came. With a smile on his face, he stood in the center of the flower platform. The bright lights melted into the air, adding a layer of gentle luster to his peach blossom minus-like eyes. I lifted the hem of my white wedding dress and walked gracefully. There was a faint mist in Theodore's eyes. He gently kissed me, full of tenderness, lingering softly on my lips. Everything around us became quiet, as if time had stood still. The world was filled with only his scent and the sound of my uncontrollable heartbeat. Serena, thank you for choosing me. Theodore's voice was low and deep. I was so dazed by his kiss that my mind went blank. And I murmured in response, I finally waited for you. Mr. Theodore. First, my husband, Ryan, had a first love. We had been married for 3 years. And we always treated each other with respect and courtesy. Just when I was 3 months pregnant, I found a series of letters full of love and reluctance that he hadn't sent in the study. In front of him, I tore the letters to pieces. And he just looked at me with a helpless expression on his face. Until I had a car accident a month before giving birth. And he whispered in my ear, if it weren't for you, Ava wouldn't have committed suicide at all. Only then did I know that he had never forgotten his first love and blamed everything on me. But he forgot that he had the ability to help his first love. I died due to massive bleeding and was reborn the day before he proposed to me. Since you don't want to, then I'll save your first love. Chapter 1. I am the heir of the Ava family. And my husband, Ryan, is a college student sponsored by my family's company. Ryan and I were in love for 2 years. And I agreed to his proposal after he graduated from college. We were very affectionate after getting married. Finally, having fulfilled my obsession. At the end of the 3rd year of our marriage, I became pregnant with our first child. At that time, I planned to give him a surprise and put the pregnancy report in the drawer of his study. However, I didn't expect to see the letters he wrote in it. It's a pity that those letters full of love are not for me, but for his first love, Ava. That was the first time I experienced the taste of being betrayed. I held those letters and questioned him hysterically. And tore all those letters into pieces in front of him. He looked at me with regret on his face and used sweet words to coax me into forgiving him. Later, he and I burned those letters together. I thought everything was over. But I didn't expect that he conspired a car accident a month before I gave birth. When the doctor asked us to have a last meeting, he leaned over to my ear with a painful expression on his face and said resentfully, "You and your child should be buried with Ava. If it weren't for you, she wouldn't have committed suicide." Only then did I know that his first love had committed suicide a month ago. And my husband, on the surface, was on a business trip. But in fact, he went to attend the funeral of his first love. Looking at his distorted expression, I deeply regretted my poor judgment of people. If I had another chance, I would never believe this man's tricks. Tears rolled down from the corners of my eyes. And I died with full of hatred in my heart. But I didn't expect that when I woke up again, I was back on the day before I agreed to his proposal. This time, I want to see if he can still reach the position he had in the previous life without the support of my family. I picked up the phone and called Secretary Stella. "Hello, Secretary Stella. Freeze the bank card I gave to Ryan." My voice was full of exhaustion. Just thinking about how much money I spent on that man in the previous life made me feel uncomfortable. Secretary Stella obviously didn't react. After all, when I wanted to be Ryan's girlfriend, I had a big fight with my father. And it was known to everyone. In the previous life, I thought Ryan was a good man with all my heart. Even if I quarreled with my father and made him disappointed in me, I still wanted to help Ryan. But in the end, Ryan took everything from me. Just thinking about the disappointed looks in my parents' eyes when they looked at me in the previous life, my heart couldn't help but ache. Even though my parents knew that Ryan was with me for money, for my happiness, they had to help him wholeheartedly, and even let him join our family's company. This time, I will never make the mistakes I made in the previous life again. Now, I just want to apologize to my father. I dialed the phone. And in an instant, the other side picked up. "Scarlett. What's wrong?" His voice was full of exhaustion. And I was the one who caused all of this. I wanted to say something. But the moment I opened my mouth, tears couldn't stop flowing. My father heard my choked voice. Ignoring the urge to scold me, he asked nervously, "Scarlett, why are you crying? Dad won't stop you from being with Ryan. Okay? Don't cry, Scarlett." I choked up and apologized to him. I'm sorry, Dad. I was too willful before. I don't like Ryan anymore. Dad. Don't be angry with me. My father was a little confused. But in the next second, he asked angrily, did he make you feel wronged? Yes, hadn't fulfilled my obsession. Dad. I don't like him anymore. My father snorted coldly. He took the money from our family and still dared to make you feel wronged. I've never seen such a thick-skinned person before. I wiped away my tears. Dad. Anyway, hadn't fulfilled my obsession. I want him to pay the price. I have something to do. Let's talk later tonight. Okay. Do whatever you want to do. Dad will always support you. Chapter 2. In the evening, a luxury car stopped outside a shabby community. Even before I got together with Ryan in the previous life, I had already found out everything about the people around him. Therefore, in this life, I was able to find Ava's home so accurately. Ava and Ryan were childhood sweethearts. Ava's father passed away early, and she lived with her mother. Although her mother didn't receive a higher education, for Ava's sake, she tried her best and supported her daughter to go to college. It's a pity that she didn't have the chance to enjoy it before she got cancer. She was reluctant to treat it and just hid it from her daughter. When Ava found out about her mother's illness, it was already in the late stage and incurable. After her mother died, Ava had to rely on herself. But when Ava's mother bought the house, under the coercion of her grandmother, she wrote her younger brother's name on the property deed. After Ava's mother died, her uncle took away the house and forced Ava to marry a man. But that man cheated on her and even infected Ava with a certain disease. She was completely disheartened and then jumped off a viaduct. That's all I could find out. Even after Ryan married me, he still paid attention to this childhood sweetheart. But I didn't expect that he loved her so deeply. However, I still don't understand. He clearly had so many opportunities to help Ava. Why didn't he ever take action? When he was with me, I never skimped on his money. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door. Behind this door led the rival in love that I had never met in the previous life. The door was slowly opened, and a delicate and pretty face appeared in front of me. Hello. Who are you looking for? Looking at this face, I was a little dazed. But I still smiled politely. Hello. My name is Scarlett. Can you please let me come in and have a seat? Ava looked at me warily. Sorry. Not now. Just for a while. Maybe I can help you. She fell silent and then stepped aside to signal me to come in. Her home was small but very cozy. Although there were many things placed in it, it wasn't messy. Her mother was also at home. At this time, she was sitting at the dining table with red eyes. And there was a hospital report on her table. When she saw me coming in, her mother forced a smile at me. Hello. What do you want with my daughter? I shook my head and quickly sat opposite her. I'm not here for her. I'm here for you. Her mother looked at me in surprise, trying to figure out where she had seen me before. I picked up the examination report on the table. It was already a month old. Have you ever thought about how your daughter will leave if something happens to you? As far as I know, the name on this house is your younger brother's. Right? How can you ensure that your daughter won't be bullied by them after you die? Her mother was stunned and didn't know how to refute. Ava was furious. Where did you find out about this? Leave right now, or I'll call the police. I smiled and motioned for her not to be excited. I think I have the ability to help you. Ava and her mother looked at each other, afraid that they wouldn't believe me. I took out the business card of the Scarlett family from my pocket. I believe you will make a reasonable decision. If you've made up your mind, please call the number on it at any time. I'll be waiting for you. I stood up, and Ava quickly stopped me. I want to know why you want to help me. I frowned and thought for a while before smiling. Because I hope you can live well. Chapter 3. As soon as I got home in the evening, my mother came up to me. Looking at her gentle appearance, I couldn't help but feel my eyes heat up. My mother hugged me tenderly with a look of heartache on her face, and then gave my father a fierce glare. Dear Scarlett, tell Mom if you have anything on your mind. Looking at their familiar faces, I decided to tell them everything that happened in the previous life. After I finished speaking, my father punched the dining table. Bastard. Even my mother was furious and wanted to go and slap Ryan right away. My father looked at me with burning eyes. What do you want to do? To be honest, I didn't know what to do either. He killed me. And of course, I hated him. But if I hadn't pushed things forward in the previous life, how could he have had the power to deal with me? I don't know. I shook my head, feeling dizzy. My mother held my hand with a look of heartache, trying to give me warmth. But at that moment, my phone rang urgently. It was Ryan. Scarlett. Why was my bank card frozen? Hearing his affectionate voice again, I just felt disgusted. It's the bank card I gave you. I can take it back whenever I want. There was silence on the other end of the phone. After a long time, I heard his aggrieved voice. Scarlett. Did I do something to make you angry? If I did something wrong, I'll apologize to you. Okay? I ignored him and just said coldly. Ryan. Let's break up. After that, I blocked his number. My parents were worried that I would be sad, so they stayed by my side to accompany me. And I just wanted to hold on to this warmth tightly. Early the next morning, I took my father's car to the company. And Ryan was standing at the entrance of the company, eagerly waiting. When he saw my car stop, he rushed over in a hurry. Scarlett. You're here. He stuffed the flowers in his hand into my arms and smiled obsequiously. Scarlett. Don't be angry. Okay? Tell me what I did wrong. And I'll change it. Okay? No need. My father stepped forward and blocked me from Ryan. Ph. Let's part ways amicably. There's no good in being shameless and causing trouble. Ryan stood there in a daze, looking at me pitifully. In the past, whenever he showed this look, I would always defend him immediately. But now, I just felt disgusted when I saw it. I thought he would give up after hitting a wall once. But who knew that he blocked me downstairs again when the company got off work? The bouquet in his hand was in a mess. And his eyes were red. Scarlett. Don't leave me. I'll do anything you want me to do. Looking at the curious glances of the people around us, I sneered at him. Really? You'll do anything? Then return the house you bought first. After all, you used my bank card to pay for it. Watching his face turn pale gradually, I felt a sense of satisfaction. Oh. Remember to return my money. Otherwise, I'll sue you. After saying that, I didn't look at him again and turned around and left. Ryan was quiet for a while. Ava also made up her mind and called me. To be honest, I wasn't surprised. After all, she had nothing. And the most terrifying disease in this world is poverty. And in this life, since I won't spend money on men anymore, what I lack the least is money. I asked my father to contact the best doctor, sent Ava's mother to the hospital, and hired medical staff for her. What do you really want? Ava looked at me seriously. I can never afford to pay back all that you've given me. Looking at her stubborn expression, I couldn't help but smile softly. You don't have to pay me back. If possible, I hope you can come and work in my company. She looked at me in surprise. Do you mean the Ava family's company? No. It's my own company. After meeting Ava, I sent someone to check her information and found out that she was in the same major as Ryan. And her professional ability was much stronger than Ryan's. In the previous life, I died like that. And my company fell into Ryan's hands. In this life, I just want to focus all my energy on my work. They agreed. And I immediately contacted someone to prepare for her to report to work the next day. Unexpectedly, just after I got home and solved this matter, I received a strange call. The music was so noisy that a person on the other end of the phone shouted loudly. Hello. Are you his girlfriend? He's drunk. Come and pick him up. Looking at my newly done nails, I sneered. Sorry. I've already broken up with him. After that, I hung up the phone and put this matter out of my mind. The next day, just as I was about to enter the company, Ryan stopped me outside the door. His face was livid, as if he was complaining that I left him outside alone. Why didn't you come to pick me up? Why should I pick you up? I looked at him coldly. As if I was looking at a stranger. His lips twitched. When my patience was almost exhausted, he tentatively asked, Scarlett. You were reborn too. Right? Painful memories flooded back. And the fear of being on the verge of death struck me again. I sneered. Since that's the case, how dare you show up in front of me? His face turned pale all of a sudden. And he didn't dare to stop me anymore. There is someone to blame for every grievance and debt. Since he has also been reborn, I don't have to blame myself anymore. Ryan. You'd better remember clearly that you owe me 2 lives. Chapter 4. I arranged for a lawyer to sue Ryan in court, hoping to get back all the expenses during our relationship. After receiving the court summons, Ryan didn't come to find me. Instead, his sister and mother came to me. They loudly cursed at the company gate, telling about their misfortunes. There were a lot of people surrounding them, all holding up their phones curiously. I walked out and looked at them coldly. In the previous life, I gave them a sum of money every month. Plus, Ryan had one of my bank cards in his hand, so his family wasn't short of money. And they treated me much better. But now that the money has been cut off, they have revealed their true colors. His mother rushed towards me like a zombie. Staggering. Secretary Stella walked quickly and stood in front of me. Ryan's mother attacked indiscriminately and scratched several marks on Secretary Stella's face. And Ryan's sister also rushed over, raising her hand high to slap me. I grabbed the hand that was about to fall and slapped her hard twice in return. They seemed not to expect that I would dare to hit her. I've already called the police. We'll go for an injury inspection later. As for the loss of work expenses, I smiled and showed them a big smile. Our Secretary Stella has a basic monthly salary of 30,000 yuan. After I finished speaking, I clearly saw the shock and fear in their eyes. At the same time, the police were also walking towards us. They still wanted to make trouble, but they obviously became less confident when they saw the police. We went to the police station together and handed the payslip and injury inspection materials that Secretary Stella had just printed out to the lawyer I had found. The police were still verbally educating the mother and daughter who had caused trouble. And we were already preparing to leave. But as soon as I turned around, I saw Ryan running over quickly. He had already received the court summons these days. And with all the business ends, such a thing happened in his family. So, his face was very gloomy when he came, as if he was on the verge of being extremely angry. When he saw me, his face changed suddenly, showing some trance and regret. It's really ridiculous that he could still feel regret. As far as I know, after being rejected by me, he went to find Ava and wanted to use my money to support his former first love. Unfortunately, having fulfilled my SI, Ava was arranged properly by me. And he has long lost the opportunity to play the hero and save the beauty in this life. He took a step forward and wanted to say something to me. But before he could open his mouth, his mother grabbed him and started crying loudly about her misfortunes. Ryan seemed to have lost all his strength and let his mother drag him. His neat clothes were even wrinkled terribly. But I will never believe his pretending to be pitiful again. And I turned around and left. A few days later, a video went viral. It was the video of Ryan's mother making a scene in front of the company building that day. However, this video had been edited, leaving only the parts where his mother was crying sadly and his sister was slapped by me. Obviously, hadn't Koftel wed sai. They wanted to use the power of public opinion to put pressure on me. Modern people are under a lot of pressure. And coupled with some people's hatred of the rich. As soon as this video came out, people started scolding in the comment section. His family created an account and accused me of my behavior in the video, saying that I had played with Ryan's feelings. They said that they never expected, and after I played with Ryan's feelings with money, not only did I not give him compensation, but I also wanted to get back the money I had spent on him. And Ryan also took the initiative to stand out and said that I had an affair and was scared. So I suddenly mentioned a breakup. He showed our chat records. Clearly, hading falselved sai. We were still sweet the day before. But suddenly everything changed. He pretended to be sad. And that broken look really attracted a large number of fans. These words sound absurd. But I don't know which people's sore spots they touched. The video became extremely popular. And even the company was affected as a result. His family tasted the benefits of the video and started a live broadcast to accuse me. After a 2-hour live broadcast, they scolded me severely and received a lot of gifts. When the live broadcast became popular, the company also started emergency public relations. I specifically wrote my name on the account and applied for an active connection when his family was having a live broadcast. As expected, they didn't agree to the application. But how could I allow them to do this? I deliberately provoked them in the bullet comments. Every time they blocked me, I would change an account and try again. Finally, having fulfilled my upset, they couldn't stand the harassment and accepted my connection. The sister and law who had been bossing around in the live broadcast just now fell silent when she saw me. And only her mother was still speaking frantically. What's the matter? I'm right here in front of you. Let's confront each other about any issues one by one. As I spoke, I made a PPT of Ryan's high consumption bills and a series of his infidelity operations that I had sorted out staying up late, and put the link in the comment section. This is the bill of his family's consumption after he was with me. He even used my money to buy a house for his family. As for why I broke up with him, I believe he knows better than me. No. I have applied to the court for compulsory enforcement. I hope you can pay off the debt as soon as possible. After saying that, I hung up the connection. Ryan has never left me. The more I investigated in this life, the more shocked I felt. He would rather spend that money pretending to be a big shot and having high consumption in clubs. I couldn't help feeling disgusted. How on earth did I sleep with this man for 3 years, and even got pregnant with his child in the previous life? I felt like vomiting and also felt extremely cold-hearted. Just when I was vaguely feeling like vomiting, Ava called me. She just joined the company these days and it was a busy time. Except for going to the hospital to visit the aunt every day after work, I couldn't see her at other times. Since she called now, I guessed there must be something urgent. Boss. Are you okay? I soothed her. It's nothing. Everything has been solved. She let out a long sigh of relief. I heard someone calling her on the other end of the phone, and she hung up the phone in a hurry after saying a few words. I didn't think about this matter anymore and threw myself back into work. Chapter 5. Ryan's family had a downfall. With the internet being so developed nowadays, netizens are also used to this kind of rapid reversal of events. Things on the internet happen quickly, and are also forgotten quickly. But I haven't forgotten about the repayment. I received Ryan's repayments in installments in my bank card. The amount of money I spent on him was a huge sum. And he couldn't pay it off in a short time. But his family had already gotten used to the life of spending money lavishly. And Ryan had also gotten used to the life of using my money to play the host and show off outside. Even his sister had attended a few banquets because of this and experienced a life that she couldn't usually see. It's easy to go from frugality to luxury, but hard to go from luxury to frugality. So, the first thing Ryan did after losing me was to try to cozy up to another rich woman. Although she couldn't compare to me, he could barely maintain his dignity. I didn't expect to see him again at a cocktail party. I specifically took Ava to that cocktail party to get to know more clients. She was wearing a silver mermaid dress, and her fair skin was even more dazzling. Coupled with those cold eyes, even my picky makeup artist couldn't help but praise her. After seeing her, I could understand why the CIO in those CEO novels always couldn't forget his first love. But I didn't expect to be so unlucky as to see Ryan again here. He looked very tired, with sunken cheeks and some dark circles under his eyes. If I didn't know he didn't have the guts, I would have believed that he had touched something he shouldn't have. He was accompanied by a wealthy woman and dressed in luxury. I remembered that she was married, but she and her husband had always led their own separate lives. Seeing that I was looking at Ryan all the time, that wealthy woman walked towards me with a champagne glass in her hand. When Ryan saw it was me, he subconsciously stopped in his tracks. But he had to follow that wealthy woman over. She clinked glasses with me, and her smiling eyes kept shifting between me and Ryan. Oh, Miss Scarlett. This is an old acquaintance. I smiled and clinked glasses with her. Not even looking at Ryan. Yes. Vivian. When are you going to sign the contract? I'm really looking forward to our cooperation. Vivian covered her mouth and laughed cocoously. But the words she said were very pleasant. This isn't the time to talk about cooperation. As far as I know, Ryan is your ex-boyfriend. Right. Miss Scarlett? I maintained a polite smile and cursed this person who had no emotional intelligence 800 times in my heart. Yes, hadn't fulfilled what I say. Vivian. I was young and ignorant at that time. And my taste wasn't very good. Vivian's expression changed. Ava beside me also noticed something was wrong and came over to hold my hand. The moment she saw Ava, Ryan's face changed suddenly. Ava. Ava carefully examined the man whose appearance had changed and showed a polite but distant smile. Hello. Ryan. After greeting him, Ava pulled me away and ignored the burning gaze behind us. In the middle of the banquet, I went to a corner to take a breath. Watching Ava chatting with various guests with ease, I felt a trace of gratification in my heart. In this life, I was able to recognize the scumbag and make up for my mistakes. And I also met such a good employee as Ava. I was secretly happy when Ryan sneaked up to me. He no longer had the youthful spirit he used to have in front of me. His wretched appearance made me feel disgusted. Although I don't know what that wealthy woman did to him. Judging from his appearance, I know he hasn't had a good life either. However, all of this was his own choice. Scarlett. His familiar voice was filled with exhaustion. I turned around and saw Ryan standing about 1 meter away from me, trying to disgust me with those eyes full of affection. Scarlett. I know I was wrong. Can we get back together? I didn't plan to kill you in the first place. I was just too angry at that time. I've already figured it out now. It was all that damned Ava who seduced me. If it weren't for her, how could you have left me? I splashed all the wine in my hand on his face and cursed in a low voice. Ryan. From beginning to end, the only damned person is you. While he was standing there in a daze, I quickly left to find Ava. After all, from beginning to end, the only person Ryan has ever loved is himself. In the previous life, if he hadn't been so indecisive, maybe both Ava and I wouldn't have died in such despair. Ava seemed to see that I was unhappy and quietly took my hand and left. In the car, she asked me curiously, Sister Scarlett, do you still like Ryan? I shook my head and showed a look of disgust. Why would you ask such a question? I thought you were still sad because of him. Sister Scarlett. Actually, Ryan isn't a good person. He also wanted to have an ambiguous relationship with others when he was with you. I was shocked and very surprised that Ava would tell me these things. Their house is next to mine. So sometimes when the uncles and aunts chat about gossip, they would talk about his family. I nodded to show that I understood. Don't worry. I don't like him at all anymore. I explained several times. And only then did Ava feel relieved. Later, the company got busy, and I left Ryan behind. One night, I had just lain on the bed and was about to fall asleep when I was woken up by the phone ringing. After I suppressed my anger and picked up the phone, the other side was silent for a long time. When my patience was about to run out, the other side finally spoke softly. Scarlett. It was Ryan's voice. Can't we really go back? First, he played tricks and wasted my rest time. And then he deliberately disgusted me like this. I cursed him severely before hanging up the phone. But after calming down, I felt a sense of fear in my heart. After all, I had witnessed this man's insidiousness in the previous life. It's easy to defend against an open attack, but difficult to guard against a hidden arrow. I don't want to lose this heart-1 happiness again. Chapter 6:6. But these past few months have been really peaceful. So peaceful that I'm almost immersed in this kind of happiness. It's like the calm before the storm. Only I know that this is just the silence before the downpour. Just like usual, I went to the company to work, but I sensitively noticed the unusual looks from others. They avoided my gaze and huddled together, whispering. Just as I was about to step forward and ask what was going on, I received a call from Ava. Scarlett. Where are you now? I'm at the company. What's wrong? Go and wait for me in the office now. I'll be there in 3 minutes. I went to the office to wait for her. But I felt a faint sense of worry in my heart. Ava ran over quickly, out of breath, and hugged me. Even her body was trembling. I patted her back and asked softly, "Did something happen?" Amma nodded with a look of heartache in her eyes and soothed me, saying, "Your father and I have suppressed the matter as soon as possible. But we're still worried about you. Did Ryan make a move?" Ava nodded and shoved me the phone in her hand. It was a trending topic that had already been removed. They were the photos that Ryan secretly took during the time we were in a relationship. My mind went blank instantly. And my heart seemed to be tightly gripped by a pair of big hands. My palms were cold. And it asked me if it was true or not, with a bitter feeling in my heart. I nodded. Ava tightly held my hand, trying to warm it. What should we do?" Ava said seriously. "We've already called the police. Whether it's Ryan or the person who spread these photos, we will make them pay the price regardless of the cost." I nodded and let her send me home. Feeling dazed. I didn't know where my father had gone. Only my mother was sitting on the sofa at home with red and swollen eyes. I could only give her a reassuring look and went back to my own room. It was only when I lay on that familiar bed that I felt relieved enough to shed tears. I knew that Ryan would deal with me. But I didn't expect that he would try to ruin me in this way. After all the tears had flowed out, I sat up and secretly vowed that I would definitely make Ryan pay the price. Because those photos had a wide spread. The police quickly filed a case and launched an investigation. Soon, let out a low sigh. The blogger who spread the photos got scared and took the initiative to come to me and ask for compensation. I ignored it and firmly refused to reach a settlement. Ryan started to panic and successively sent me apology messages using other people's phones. He said that when he went to repair the computer, he didn't know that the boss would steal the photos from the computer and expose them. Looking at them shirking responsibility, I just sneered and quietly watched them fight among themselves. In the end, when he knew that the apology was useless, he started to curse me again. I forwarded the chat records to my lawyer, just hoping that multiple crimes combined would make Ryan stay in prison for a few more days. Ryan's family had already become famous in the neighborhood after the live broadcast where they spread rumors last time. Wherever the family went, they were mocked. A newly bought house was also sold at a low price because of the repayment. The family had to hide everywhere and could only go back to the dilapidated house in their hometown. Therefore, his family hated me extremely. When Ryan found my photos in the computer, he wanted to take them out to threaten me immediately. However, under the instigation of his sister, he sold the photos to that blogger. That blogger transferred my private photos to his so-called brother group for evaluation together. Unexpectedly, someone with a bad brain actually posted them on the internet. Because of these few photos, coupled with those insulting words, many people somehow found my phone number and sent me harassing messages. Even the company stock was affected. My father had been working overtime in the company for several days. And even my mother was worried about me all day long because of this problem. Ava would come to accompany me every night and soothe me softly. One day, on a whim, I opened my Weibo account. Under those messages, there were no longer only those disgusting messages from men. Instead, there were more words of comfort from netizens. Just as they said, a woman's chastity never lies beneath her skirt. I told Ava my thoughts. Although she was still worried, she was willing to support me. I briefly described my relationship with Ryan on my Weibo account. First, I thanked the netizens for their support. And then I expressed my position. I am a person and also have humans' primitive desires. I don't think there's anything wrong with normal sexual behavior in a romantic relationship. My innocence has never been in that thin membrane. Therefore, regarding those photos, I don't think I should be the one to feel sad and painful. They have already violated the law. As for those who forwarded, sold, or even privately messaged and insulted me, I will sue them in accordance with the law. The Scarlett family company and those friendly business partners reposted my post. For a while, the public opinion reversed. Countless girls who had been hurt poured out their experiences under my post. Looking at those experiences similar to mine, I felt heartbroken. I spent a large sum of money to open a women's rights protection firm, hoping to provide help for them. More and more people sought help, and I was gradually expanding the scale. Even though the road to rights protection was very difficult, I still wanted to do my best to help them. Ryan became even more scared. He knew that he had no way to turn the situation around and actually wanted to use the method that he had used to kill me in the previous life to harm me. Unfortunately, I was well minus prepared in this life. Ryan was arrested and imprisoned on suspicion of attempted murder and spreading pornographic materials. And I specifically gave instructions to try to make Ryan stay in prison for a longer time. My life returned to peace again. Except that a few people from his family would come to harass me from time to time and beg me to let Ryan go. However, if I didn't want to, they wouldn't even have the chance to see me. The last time I saw them was 7 months after Ryan was imprisoned. His sister knelt in front of my company and begged me to save him. However, I was on a business trip at that time. The people in my company had all heard about his family's affairs and were afraid of getting into trouble by helping her. So they could only ask the doorman to call the police. She helped for a long time but didn't see me. Just as she was about to run away, she was caught and beaten by her parents. In the end, the whole family was taken away by the police. Chapter 7:7. After Ryan was imprisoned, he asked to see me once. Ava accompanied me there. Since I still had some questions to ask him, I didn't let her go in because I had some things to ask Ryan. Through the glass window, I saw this man again. He was even more haggard than the last time I saw him, with a sinister look in his eyes. I couldn't help laughing and said, "You know what? This prison uniform really suits you." Ryan looked at me resentfully and said, "Do you really have to ruin me?" I looked at him with disgust and said, "I never told you to be Vivian's mistress. Nor did I tell you to commit a crime. How can you say that I ruined you?" Ryan fell silent and held his head in pain. "I'm really curious. In the previous life, why didn't you help Ava? Didn't you always regard her as your first love?" Ryan sneered coldly and said, "Is my money not money? Do you know how much it costs for her mother's chemotherapy? It's better to wait until her mother dies and then I can protect her." He was silent for a moment and then glared at me angrily. "If I hadn't begged your father to let me into your family's company, I would have gone to find her long ago. Who knew she got married? If your father hadn't always refused to let me into the company, why would I have been in a hurry to propose to you? Why would it have delayed me from going to find Ava?" Suddenly, he flew into a rage and slapped the glass frantically. "It's all your fault. It's all your fault. In the previous life, you prevented me from being with her. And in this life, you've made me like this." Two policemen ran in and held him down. After getting the answers I wanted, I ignored him and turned around and left. Ava was waiting for me outside. When she saw me come out, she quickly came over with a worried look on her face. I sat in the car and closed my eyes. I didn't expect that the answers I had been so eager to get were so absurd. The car stopped downstairs at the hospital. We were here this time to pick up Ava's mother and go have a reunion dinner together. Fortunately, having fulfilled me in this life, she was sent to the hospital early. And with active cooperation in treatment, her mother's cancer had improved a lot. I took them back to my home. When the two families met for the first time, it was full of joy. My parents warmly welcomed their arrival. In the evening, I was the only one left sitting on the sofa, drinking. Ava also sat next to me with a glass of wine. "Sister Scarlett, Happy New Year." "Happy New Year." I clinked glasses with her and watched her blushing and chattering non-stop. "Sister Scarlett, sometimes I really think you were sent by heaven to save me. If it weren't for you, my mother wouldn't have agreed to the treatment. And our family's house might have been taken away by my uncle." What she guessed were all the things she had experienced in the previous life. I patted her on the shoulder and comforted her, saying, "Maybe I really came here from the previous life to save you." She looked at me seriously and said, "I believe it." I smiled and clinked glasses with her. "Now we just need to work hard to live our own lives. General Manager Ava." She also smiled and said, "Okay, General Manager Scarlett." We both smiled and drank up the wine in our glasses in one gulp. This glass of wine is to toast ourselves and also to toast the future.